dreams to filter through this land of ours and fill a sportsman's dreams. Enjoy what nature holds for us, her bounty never ends. Getting back to basics with the practical sportsman. It's always an adventure, no matter where we go. From a favorite hunting spot to the hottest fishing hole. Outdoor life we all can share with family and friends. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman.
Hi there, come on in. It is Thursday night, September 5th, the year 2002. Zach, we're heading into the fall hunting seasons, and we're going to talk about one subject here tonight is ducks, the duck forecast, and this is something the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service put together. We're going to take an excerpt from that. You're also going to have a guides report.
Absolutely.
How are the salmon looking?
Salmon have been phenomenal.
Well, that's great, and we have a lot more, so you stay tuned. I'm Fred Trost.
And I'm Zachary Trost.
And you're watching The Practical Sportsman.
One example we have is a segment we fly with over 100 wetlands on it in a normal year. Had 73 on it last year and down to 17 this year.
You know, in the past few weeks, we've started to open the show with a brand new feature featuring you.
Correct.
And the Michigan Outdoor News, which I've heard has been pretty popular amongst our viewers.
That's what the reports we're getting.
And that's good. This Outdoor News is something that we came across. It's a relatively new publication in Michigan. We've affiliated with Michigan Outdoor News. Each week here on the show, we have Zachary Trost bringing you news from the Michigan Outdoor News. And how about the report for this week?
Okay. Dateline, Scandia, Michigan. Well, first, how many of you know where Scandia, Michigan is? Well, let me give you some hints. Let's see, it's about 10 miles southeast of Harvey, and then it's 2 miles southwest of Yalmer. And that makes it also 2 miles northwest of Selma, and 4 miles due north of Carlson. Well, for enough hints, here's Scandia in the Upper Peninsula, 13 miles southeast of Marquette on M41. You know, if you pay attention, listen to the news, you would think that gun accidents and violence, kids and everything are at an all-time high. But, nothing could be quite further from the truth. Bill Parker also pointed out in his column that a recent study by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention showed a 37% decline in non-fatal firearm-related injuries for all age categories of children and adolescents for the years from 1993 to 1997. The Michigan Outdoor News comes out 26 times a year. You can pick it up on the newsstand or you can subscribe.
Yep, bear season is upon us. Did you apply for a permit?
I didn't.
Me neither. No. There's so many things to do, and I'm going to get into a lot of small game hunting this fall. But speaking of bears, we had this past winter a story from a hunter who got a whopping sized bear up in the Upper Peninsula. You remember that story?
Sort of.
Are you the best hunter in the world?
No, but a lucky one.
Hey, you're an honest one, too. It's Willis Michael Volker?
Michael Volker from Willis.
Oh, Michael Volker from Willis. Okay, I'm catching on to this. Willis. Willis, is that in the Yup?
No, it's down by Metro Airport somewhat.
Okay, so you went up to Gogebic County, though, to get this bear?
Yes, sir.
Look at this, a 479-pounder, the 11th of September, and you got that with a rifle. Did it come in pretty close?
About 40 yards.
Why didn't you let it come in closer?
Well, when I seen he was a big bear, he bigger than me, he ain't get no closer.
Now, was this 479 pounds, was that field dressed or?
Dressed weight, yeah, dressed weight.
So live it'd be?
Yeah, they predict about 550, somewhere in that area.
Boy, that's something.
I haven't got the information back from the DNR, the section the tooth and give the age and that stuff. That's not back yet, but they figure about 10 years old.
Now, where's the tooth that they took?
There's
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Yeah.
There's the whole. So they just take that little bitty
One
tooth there?
Yeah, real small tooth, yeah. Real small one.
Not like that one there.
That's cracked. He's a pretty rough old boy.
You mean that tooth was cracked when you got him?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Makes you wonder what he bit down on. Or who.
His lower legs were full of bird shot.
What about his upper legs?
Oh, just 30-06.
No, so this bear had been around. Now, what do you do? How do you display a bear like this, a head like this at home? Set it in the middle of the kitchen table or what?
On top of the entertainment center. Yeah, the hide's not back from the taxidermist yet, but I get a 3/4 mount done.
Excellent.
And it's a biggie.
Hey, well, that's great. Mike Volker from Willis. Way to go. Chris Hoffman from Leonard,
Michigan,
well, I know that, Leonard, Michigan. Mason County.
Ludington, I think there's one.
Yeah, very good. And let's see, the 11th of August.
I'm not sure when I got it.
Well, it's about 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah, 7:30.
Okay, and you were trolling, and this fish is how big?
27 pounds, 14 ounces.
So you didn't really catch it, though. I mean, your dad.
I caught it.
You caught it.
I caught it.
Now, what do you mean you caught it? Did you take the rod out of the holder, or did your dad?
What?
He did.
Yes, he did. There was two of us. on
Hold
the
it,
boat.
hold it. This is his story.
Yes, sir.
What are you coming up here with him for?
I was there. I'm a witness.
Well, if we have any problems with verification, I'll contact you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Chris. So what happened?
Well, we were trolling at 7:30 in the morning, and there was a screamer, and we had two of them on.
A screamer.
Yep, two screamers. And,
Two screamers. Now hold it. Okay, go ahead.
So we thought that this one was bigger, this pole, and we let the other one, because there's only two of us on the boat, and one had to steer, and we let the other one go, and I reeled him in. It took 30 minutes, and
Well, you sound like you're in charge of this thing.
yes,
You are? That's good. Do you give your dad an allowance or anything like that?
yes,
Okay, well, I can see you're going to be quite the fisherman, and this is just a start in your career, huh?
yep.
Anything else you want to say to the people out there?
Yeah, hi, Mom.
Now, hold it. I didn't ask you.
Yes, sir.
Now, you better learn that he's going to be horning in on you the rest of your life here. So just stand your ground. And once again, who caught this fish?
I did.
Very good. Chris Hoffman, way to go. Congratulations. Okay, out of here. No, this way. This way, Chris. And you pick up your certificate there.
What do you think, Zach? Are people going to think I snubbed the old man?
Oh, you might get a letter or two, but
Hey, big deal. You know, the old man gets joy out of it anyway. We have fun with it, and we hope the kids have a good feeling. But now is the time when salmon can be caught in this state.
that's what they're telling me. There's even an early run happening.
Things are looking good for salmon fishing.
It's looking like it's going to be just gangbusters this year.
You know what happens September 15th?
No?
Oh, God. You always say this. Squirrel season.
Okay.
Squirrel season, small game season. I can't wait. We have duck season coming up, which you reported on in the outdoor headlines, Michigan Outdoor News. And we have a story right now, which I've never used this on the show, I don't think in maybe 10 or 15 years, from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. They provide a half-hour report on the status of waterfowl each year. So let's run a little condensation of this. We're going to have Mary Acker whittle this down so you can get a gist of what the waterfowl populations are like here in the year 2002.
A presentation of the United States Fish and Wildlife Service.
The spring of 2002 found extremely dry conditions over large areas of western North America.
Thousands of wetlands across the prairies and parklands that traditionally had been used by waterfowl for nesting had dried up. Biologists in some areas reported the severest drought in many decades. Toward the end of May and early June, parts of the prairies finally did receive some rain, large amounts in some areas, but for the most part it was too late to help production. This May, 12 teams of U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service pilot biologists and observers took off to survey and evaluate their assigned areas. During the breeding population and production surveys, these pilot biologists fly more than 85,000 miles at low altitude over most of the continent's waterfowl breeding areas in what is easily the most intensive, largest, and longest ongoing wildlife survey in the world.
Southwest Ontario and southern Quebec is a transition area between mixedwood habitats and boreal habitats farther to the north. The region's traditionally been an important breeding area for black ducks, as well as cavity nesting species such as wood ducks, hooded mergansers, and bufflehead. And in recent decades, it's become an important breeding area for mallards as well. This past winter has been relatively warm and dry. However, spring rains have replenished wetland basins locally, and where we are seeing good wetland conditions, we're seeing good numbers of birds. We expect mallards to be up slightly and black ducks to be about the same as last year.
Bill Butler flies central and western Ontario and noted that the late arrival of spring had slowed waterfowl breeding activities. Habitat conditions in central Ontario were generally fair but poor in the northwest. Good conditions were observed in more eastern areas. Moving into the eastern Dakotas, John Solberg provides the following information.
North and South Dakota experienced a mild, dry winter, which was followed by a cooler than normal spring. March and April were 10 to 20 degrees cooler than normal, which resulted in a later than normal migration, particularly with the mid and late season nesting waterfowl. After a delayed start to our survey, we're seeing the main thing missing from the landscape being our seasonal and temporary wetlands. Because of this fact, we probably won't get the strong breeding effort and strong production that we've experienced over the past 6 to 8 years, but we still will produce some birds here. Up in the Prairie Coteau region on the eastern side of South Dakota, the water conditions really are quite good. Carryover water from the wet years that we've had in the recent past. All in all, I would say we'll have a fair production, and overall the habitat is fair in eastern North and South Dakota.
The southern Saskatchewan survey area runs from the central part of the province down to the U.S. border. I fly the central part, southwest and south central part of the province. Habitat types include grassland and aspen parkland predominantly. This year, conditions in the province are terrible. It's the third year of the drought. This is the worst year out of the three. Wetlands in the south, southern grasslands are 20 to 30% down from last year. The central grasslands and portions of the parklands are 70 to 80% down from last year. One example we have is a segment we fly with over 100 wetlands on it in a normal year, had 73 on it last year and down to 17 this year. That gives you an example of how dry it is in the province. What effect does this have on ducks? It alters their migration patterns. Some are going to remain south of this affected area. Some will go north and overfly the province to the boreal forest and maybe Alaska. Some will forego breeding altogether. Others that do nest will probably limit their nesting attempts. Those that do get off broods, again, brood success will probably be poor because of wetlands that are drawn down. The broods and ducklings are exposed to predators. The food quality is poor. Habitat is just terrible in the province. So overall, we expect poor production out of southern Saskatchewan and lower population estimates.
As we look back at the May survey, some traditional breeding areas for waterfowl remain extremely dry. Although this year's late spring rains provided relief from these poor habitat conditions, the water came too late in the breeding season to provide a significant benefit to waterfowl production. Before we get to the population estimates, let's review pond numbers, which is one of the factors biologists consider when assessing the outlook for duck production. Pond numbers in Prairie Canada were 48% below last year and 58% below the long-term average. In the north-central U.S., ponds were 32% lower than last year and 16% below the long-term average. In the Prairie Pothole region of Canada and the north-central United States combined, the estimate of 2.7 million ponds was the second lowest on record since 1974. Total May ponds were 41% below last year and 45% below the long-term average. This spring, we have seen an expansion in the area of the Prairie Pothole region affected by lack of precipitation. Some areas are experiencing the driest conditions in the past 30 years. Now let's take a look at breeding population estimates from the spring survey. Between 1955 and 2001, breeding duck populations in the traditional survey area fluctuated between 25 and 43 million birds. This year's total duck breeding population estimate is just over 31 million birds. This is 14% lower than last year and 6% below the long-term average. The abundance of total ducks in the eastern survey area was estimated to be 4.4 million birds, which is 32% higher than last year. The breeding ground estimate for black ducks was nearly 603,000 birds. Numbers for mallards and most other species in the east remain similar to last year. Once again, in 2002, waterfowl arriving on the breeding grounds were greeted with a wide range of habitat conditions. In many areas, dry conditions have replaced the abundant water that was so widespread during most of the previous decade. Duck numbers declined in 2002, but many species remain near their long-term average. However, we continue to be particularly concerned for some species, such as scaup and pintails. The expansion of areas impacted by drought, combined with reduced duck numbers on the breeding grounds, will likely result in fewer ducks migrating southward this fall. Most North American goose populations continue to do well. However, poor spring conditions in some Arctic and subarctic areas likely will result in a reduced fall flight for several populations this year.
And we will have more on duck hunting, the conditions in our guides report, duck hunting features, and so on, because I'm going to get into a lot more small game hunting this year, Zach.
I'm planning on getting out there duck hunting this year, too.
Cool, we're going to have a good time.
But
that's the lowdown for this weekend. There's plenty to do with hunting season coming up. I guess we got to tell the folks they got to get outdoors.
It's a great place to be.
See you next week.